Okay, I'd now like to introduce you to Erin, who's our accredited practicing dietitian. So quite different role from a nutritionist. Many of you will have seen nutritionists, dietitians in the past, and the roles do vary. So the role of a dietitian typically is someone who's actually been to university first of all. They might have done an undergraduate degree and then a master's to become a dietitian. So just to give you a bit of an idea of what a dietitian is, and an accredited practicing dietitian, what does that actually tell us about your qualifications and who you are, Erin?
Okay, so yeah, there is a real difference between a nutritionist and a dietitian. Somebody in Australia who's able to be called a dietitian, as Felicity said, is somebody who's been to university and completed a bachelor and a master's degree. And so the main thing that makes somebody an accredited practicing dietitian is that they are constantly having to research and renew and learn more skills and stay in touch with a mentor. So basically what that means is that we're staying on top of the latest research and we're staying on top of what is going to benefit our patients the best.
Fantastic, that's so important for all of our patients, and in terms of what they're going to gain from engaging with a dietitian in this space and this environment. I think it's quite unique and it's very different from typically what patients have been exposed to in the past, because your dietitian actually works with you for the long term. It's an education process that does take 12 months. It's not just, and especially if you're having either a surgical or a non-surgical procedure, the role of a dietitian is to educate you and work with you for over 12 months so that all of the lifestyle modifications and behaviours that we're hoping to change and delete past bad behaviours can take up to 12 months so that we can positively ensure that any new behaviours become habits for life. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, definitely. And I think one of the most important things really in that 12 months of whatever kind of a weight loss program you're on, whether it is a surgical or a non-surgical option, one of the things a dietitian will do is really stay on top of not only the nutrition that I guess we're putting in our mouths. When we think nutrition, we think of food, but our nutrition is also a lot to do with our blood, and that's something that we stay on top of as well to make sure that we're not becoming deficient, that we're not going to run into any problems down the track that can lead to some bad behaviours or lead to going back to behaviours that we've really worked hard on changing.
I think it's also really important that people need to understand that what you're trying to educate them about is putting all the goodness in and feeding their cells for the right positive outcomes for the long term, and that we're not trying to look at taking away or depriving people of anything. How do you think that kind of makes people think when they've got a bit of a fear around what's the dietitian going to do for me and what are they going to tell me about my past?
Yes, the evil dietitians. I think the main thing is that being a dietitian, we really see food as fuel and something that we're putting inside ourselves in order to feel the best that we can in day-to-day life. And why wouldn't you want to feel like that every day? So I guess there's a lot of work that we do in looking at how we can maybe learn more about food and learn more about how we relate to food in terms of thinking about what's this going to help us with? How am I going to feel after I have this food as opposed to this food? If that makes sense, yeah.
So we've got a theme for our seminar tonight, which is tired and lethargic, regain your energy for a new life. So typically food plays such a big part in terms of energy, and that's exactly what you've just kind of tried to indicate to us. So how do you think that food is going to play a part in converting someone who does feel all the time they're overweight, they're tired, they're lethargic, they don't want to go out, they sleep a lot? How does that actual change in diet reflect on re-energising someone and turning them into an energetic person?
Well, you're exactly right. Food is our fuel. Food is what gives us energy, essentially, but it doesn't mean that all food is created equally when it comes to the energy that we feel in ourselves. And so some people can eat a lot of food but not actually feel very energetic at all. And getting that balance right, getting the exact balance of nutrition right for you in your own life, you're going to be different to everybody else. So really tailoring a diet specific to the nutrition that you might need is really going to be the key to, I guess, building that energy, feeling different in yourself, feeling like, you want to go out and embrace life. And that's something that I think, everybody really deserves to feel. And it's always really great when we see people who have that change. It's fantastic.
I think also the other thing with bariatric surgery is that we're forcing those changes. So smaller meals but more regularly is going to change the metabolism and have an impact on energy levels just because you have to change your behaviour anyway. So your pattern of eating is changing. Do you think that's going to have a big impact on energy levels?
I think with a weight loss surgery, there's so many sort of steps in the journey. So some people will feel more energy and less energy at certain points. But really what it does is it forces you to look at, okay, well, I can't fit as much in as what I once could. I've got to make it count. I've got to make it food that is going to pick me up, to make me feel good, that's going to nourish my body. And that's where I think people really learn the most, is when you're sort of really forced to look at food like that.
So tonight in your presentation, you're going to give people a bit of an indication as to what to expect when they work with you, how things are going to look for the next 12 months. Is there anything specific that you'd like to actually just give a bit of an indication to people who are distance patients watching online tonight in terms of what they are going to gain from working with you, and typically it might be over Skype and phone for the long term, just something that they might like to look for in the role of a dietitian for them specifically?
Sure. So what we're going to discuss in more detail tonight is really how important it is to tailor a nutrition plan to your own body, to your own situation and what's going on. And what I would typically work with our patients here or over Skype or over the phone is what's going on for them, where they're at in their journey, and I guess how we can sort of plan for the future, plan for when we're maybe a lot further down the track, and also have a plan for when we're really going through the very initial phases in the first 6 weeks, because things are very subject to change. And I think it's a really good idea that we have a plan, and we have a plan for if that plan doesn't go exactly as we expected to, just to know that there's always going to be that security net of not only myself but the rest of the team here, and that you will actually achieve what you set out to do.
Fantastic. All right, I'm really looking forward to hearing Erin tonight and having the opportunity for her to share with you what to expect when you do engage with her following tonight's webinar. So stay with us, and really looking forward to hearing from her later on.